Independence. What is independence? Freedom you and I struggled for. Independence you and I struggled for. What is freedom? What is freedom when you and I are still in bondage? When the laws made by the oppressors are still being used by the liberators? When all the wealth is now in the hands of the chosen few? When the nation is still groaning in pain? When thinking otherwise is an offense? What is freedom? Where is the independence? Where is the independence? What is freedom? Where is freedom? Who stole your freedom? Where is your independence? Who stole your independence? When what you speak will be used against you. When what you say is not accepted. When you walk on the road to peace and you end up in prison cells. Where is freedom? Who stole your independence? What is freedom?
Right, comrades, thank you for joining in, and let's start from that a very powerful song by Comrade Ray Majongwe, the General Secretary of ATUS, and who is one of the panelists today. I wish to welcome all viewers and all workers, citizens everywhere to this program, which is our first dialogue session on the worker dialogues, a platform we discuss all issues about work, workers and the workplace. We discuss everything that affects workers, their families, and society. We wish to use this platform to inform ZCTU leaders, workers on various issues, and also to mobilize for actions aimed at defending the rights and promote the interests of workers. We also wish to use this platform to engage society and policymakers in order to aid in sound policy making. So workers and citizens, this is your platform, a platform for all of us to engage on. And today in our inaugural session, in our inaugural dialogue, we have the administrators, senior administrators of trade unions who are on the ground to share with us what is happening on the ground. And we also have an economist who is a seasoned researcher, a senior researcher in labor economics and in economics in general. My name is Peter Gift Mtasa, the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions president, and I'll be hosting this session so that I am informed by the comrades who I have in here. Upfront, we wish to apologize that our panel is not gender sensitive. We were hoping to have 2 female comrades, but unfortunately they had some challenges which resulted in our late notification for this session. For workers who are not on this platform, we are going to download the session on audio and circulate on all our WhatsApp groups so that workers are in touch. But for now, allow me to call upon the comrades to introduce themselves. I'll start with Comrade Moyo.
Good evening to Mr. or Comrade Mtasa, the president of the ZCTU. Good evening to the workers, friends, colleagues that might be listening at this, listening or viewing this program. Thank you very much for creating this platform. My name is Japhet Moyo. I'm the Secretary General of the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions.
Thank you. Comrade Ray.
Amandla Viva the workers. I say, Comrade Mtasa, thank you for inviting me to the platform. Good evening to the comrades who are with me and with you on this panel. And we say good evening to viewers and listeners all over. And we hope this discussion will produce many other like discussions that will propel the workers' struggle further. Amandla Viva, let's go ahead.
Amandla. Comrade Nyasha.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, President Mtasa. Good evening, Comrade Moyo, Comrade Majonge. Good evening, viewers. First, let me apologize for my lighting. I'm currently parked by the roadside because I just had to join this meeting due to its importance. So I just parked by the roadside to be with you. It's a wonderful dialogue that will help shape the future of workers in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And maybe we should start with Comrade Majongwe. We're listening the song that you played some years back. Would you mind sharing what its title is and also what it means to the working class, what it means to you, what it means to all of us, and maybe we start from there.
I think the song basically summarized the questions that men had, or men still have. The song was done way back in 2000, I think 2000, yes? It's called What is Freedom? We talk of Zimbabwe being independent. We talk of our people being independent, but the question is, are we really independent? What nature and what form is this independence? The workers complain they are beaten. The workers complain The leadership complains, they are arrested, unions are put on surveillance, intimidation is the order of the day. The laws that were used by Ian Smith are the same laws that are being used by the liberators, under new names, obviously. And the challenge now is, do we continue in silence or we stand up and get counted? And I think this is the challenge that the workers have. And I want to believe the struggle for the workers has not even begun. We need to continue fighting, and the fighting must not stop. No matter the arrest, no matter the intimidation, no matter the surveillance, life has to go on. That's what the trade unionism struggle is all about. The trade unionist must not know peace. If you know no peace and you are a trade unionist, then you are supping the devil. The most important point is the struggle continues, and freedom and independence are incomplete until we're able to say to ourselves, our issues are addressed and addressed positively by the establishment.
Thank you very much. That is profoundly inspiring. And indeed, our freedom is incomplete if workers are still wallowing in poverty. But comrades, wherever I'm having a discussion nowadays, the greatest question that we are asking as trade union leaders is there a crisis in Zimbabwe? Looking at the labor market, let's share our views from where you are coming from. Is there a crisis, Comrade Moyo? Is there a crisis in Zimbabwe?
Come again, President. I missed your question.
Is there a crisis in Zimbabwe? Looking at the labor market, that's the greatest question, the biggest question of the day.
Thank you very much for the question. From where we are standing as workers, colleagues, I'm looking at a situation where people are struggling to get salaries. Those who are lucky to have a job at this moment are struggling to get salaries. Unions are struggling to negotiate effectively with their employers. The little remuneration that they are able to get is not even enough to take them for a month. Those who try to access their workplaces, they struggle even to reach their workplaces because of numerous checkpoints, because of inadequate transport. Those who are not feeling well need to get medication. The hospitals are not working because the nurses are on strike for the past 6 months or so. Electricity, some are going for more than 10 hours without electricity. People have been locked down at their homes as containment measures for COVID-19 without anything to eat or feed their families. If you take all these things together, if you put all these things together, there is no any other description you can give except to say we are really in a crisis. We are in a crisis when we have thousands, if not millions, of young people risking their lives, crossing Limpopo to border to South Africa, where there are even no jobs in South Africa. To me, that is a crisis. You have a crisis when you are sleeping at home, barricade your home, because we are afraid that someone is going to come and pick you up and adapt you. To me, that is a crisis. To me, it is a crisis when it is an offense to get arrested for tweeting that this particular party has failed, it's supposed to go. To me, that is a crisis. It is a crisis if workers are not able to protest, if workers are not able to petition their employers and demand wages. To me, that is a crisis. So I would describe the current situation in Zimbabwe as the most crisis we have in the past 40 years of our independence.
Thank you very much. Comrade Ray, looking at
I
the
think
public service workers.
I did not say anything more than what Comrade Jaffet has said. A crisis is defined as a time of intense difficulty or danger. Let me repeat, a crisis, which is a noun, is a time of intense difficulty or danger. I think that is simply very clear that Zimbabwe fits in that description. In other words, we are saying a crisis is a catastrophe or a calamity, a time when important decisions have to be made. It is a turning point. And I want to believe people must understand that when we say Zimbabwe is in a crisis, we are not saying Zimbabwe is the only country that is a crisis. Several countries are in a crisis. We have a crisis of salaries, a crisis in terms of our education system, a crisis on the roads and transport sector, a crisis in terms of salaries. I think it's really a crisis. If somebody who has got 4 degrees and has 25 years teaching experience earns $3,000, when a police officer who graduated after 6 weeks of training at Morris Depot earns $8,000, I think that is the summary of what a crisis is all about. What is the justification that somebody who is qualified is producing and selflessly working hard as a teacher, as patriotically as he possibly or she possibly can, and ultimately earns less than half what a police officer who basically possibly qualified because of his ability to run and ability to endure pain. Here is somebody who has taught tirelessly for 42 years as a headmaster, and he gets a pension of 23,000 RTGS, which is less than $22. And we say to that person, this is your package, go home, and you think that person will not cry crisis. I want to believe if people think that we will stop saying we are in a crisis because we must show unparalleled patriotism, we will not do that. Zimbabwe is in a crisis, and it is up to us to stand up and say, let's address these issues together. Some of us are actually saying we have serious problems that we can actually fathom, because if you interrogate the challenges that Zimbabweans have, some are sleeping on an empty tummy today. People can't even travel. People don't even know where to get fees. Government has announced that schools have to open on the 28th. Teachers who are supposed to be going to teach have no sense to go to those places where they are supposed to be reporting for duty. That is the crisis.
Thank you very much. And Comrade Yasha, you followed Comrade Ray Majongwe there. Even the 8,000 that the police officer is getting, does it not also show a crisis? In economic terms, what sort of a crisis do we have in this country?
Okay, thank you so much. In economic terms, it's said to say that Zimbabwe is in multiple crises, if I'm to say. If we look at the labor market first and foremost, we have a challenge in terms of unemployment. We have a challenge in terms of people getting employment itself. We have a challenge of underemployment. Those who are employed for less hours than they should be employed. At the same time, we have a crisis also in terms of wages. We have also a wage crisis in Zimbabwe, which is also manifesting also as a poverty crisis. For example, we are talking about people earning 8,000. Those are the few. The majority are earning around 5,000, 4,000, or even less. But at the same time, if we look at the poverty datum line for July, it's telling us that you need, for July, August, it's telling us that you need around 16,000 Zimbabwean dollars. to survive a month for a family of 5. So that means the majority of the people in Zimbabwe are now classified as the working poor. Whereas employment is supposed to pull us out of poverty, but employment in Zimbabwe is embedding people into poverty. The majority of people are earning less than 6,000, of which you need around $7,000 per month to be able to buy the food requirements, only food requirements. Yeah, so in terms of classification, if you cannot afford the food requirements for a month, we classify you as being extremely poor. And let's look at also now, so you get the majority of the working people, not the majority of the people staying at home, the majority of the working people being classified as the working poor. These are people who are earning a salary every month and are in extreme poverty. So that is a crisis within the labor market itself that we have to look at as Zimbabwe and see how can we resolve that. The people who are supposed to be pushing aggregate demand, the people who are supposed to be buying commodities are not able to afford the basic, let me repeat, and let us put it in bold, basic food requirements for a month. Their salaries are not enough. There was someone who came out who was saying, now your salary cannot even fill up a full tank. And when we hear these things, that tells us that we have a crisis in the labor market. If we look at the economy, the economy as a whole, we still have challenges in terms of access to cash. We still have challenges in terms of, look at what is happening to our inflation rate. It has gone up. Now we are trying, we have had now announcements saying, well, let's reduce it because also we are now having prices in USD and also prices in Zim dollar. But the majority of our people are earning Zim dollar. And we have an economy which people would want to run away from it, but we are re-dollarizing. Government is re-dollarizing the Zimbabwean economy, and salaries are still left behind. And at the same time as we are re-dollarizing, prices are being indexed to the what? To the exchange rate, and salaries are not. And these are some of the things that we have to look at. Thank you for this moment in time.
Thank you very much. So you mean even the policemen earning 8,000, they are also still in abject poverty?
Yeah, they're still the working poor. They are still classified as the working poor.
Oh, thank you very much. Comrade SG Moyo, what is the situation like? May you inform the workers, what is the situation like in terms of the current salaries, the minimum wages in various sectors in the private sector? And how does that relate to what Comrade Nyasha was talking about in terms of a poverty data line that is above 15,000?
At the moment, if you look at the majority of our sectors in the private sector, I know that the wages even in the public sector are not that adequate. But in the private sector, if you look at the current salaries that are being paid, the question I always ask myself is, how are these workers surviving in the salaries that they are currently earning? We still have sectors that are still paying a minimum that was imposed by the government. You recall that at the beginning of this year, when we had this dispute of how do we address the erosion of salaries at the TNF level, the government unilaterally decided to peg the minimum wage to around 2,500. That figure has not changed to many of our sectors. What has merely changed is that the employers have provided what they call a cost of living adjustment. But the basic minimum wage remains at $2,500. So the wages at most of the sectors generally is not adequate to sustain workers. Probably the cost of living is the component that is able to take the workers back home to their families and back to work for a particular month. But as Nyasha did allude to, what is prevailing in all the sectors generally is below what we term a living wage, which is, if you put together the basic minimum wage that was decided by the government then, and what the many sectors are paying as the cost of living, the majority probably are earning $6,000. This is 6,000 RTGS. That is not enough to sustain many workers. That's why I said if you look at what the majority of workers are earning at the moment, you then wonder, how are the majority of our people really able to manage to sustain their families for a week, for a month?
Thank you very much. That's a sorry state. And that calls for me to ask Comrade Majongwe. When we used to grow up, we all wanted to be a teacher. And to be a headmaster was going to be a very, very big blessing, because headmasters owned everything in the rural area, vehicles, cars, many cars, and the shops. With what you have said about the salaries of teachers, what is the current conditions, living conditions of teachers?
I think the most important point that I want to put across here is we have a situation where government deliberately knows that teachers have tested poverty positive. And it appears it is the scheme of government to deliberately pauperize teachers to a point that they are easy to manipulate. Because in a country with so much mineral wealth, and we see leadership living in opulence and extravagance, to suddenly stand up and be told that a qualified teacher can earn and survive on 3,800 RTGS, and then be given a $75 nostro, which has taken various forms, because you get it today, you don't know how to use it. Each bank has its own formula, and it's actually a mirage. Nobody knows whether whatever it is, because it's not going to be pensionable. The truth of the matter is, teachers have fallen from grace to grass. Single mothers who actually are so many in the profession, as well as single fathers, can't make ends meet. The truth of the matter is, a teacher, for instance, Regis Majongwe, my father, and Nora Majongwe, my mother, were primary school teachers. My father was a headmaster. He was able to send 7 of my siblings, including myself. All of us got up to university. We went to boarding schools, reputable boarding schools. He did not struggle to pay fees for each one of us. But I will tell you that a teacher currently working in anywhere in the country can't send their 6-year-old child to preschool. And you say to yourself, why is it that this is the reality now? It appears since Mugabe came on board, he deliberately made teachers as enemies of the state. And over time, they deliberately pauperized teachers and disarticulated us to a point where ultimately that respect that we had in the communities was all eroded. This is why you suddenly find in the paper saying teacher steals chicken, teacher does that, teacher caught drunk, teacher. And it has almost been a systematic government crusade to pauperize teachers to a point that we become a laughing stock in the communities that we serve in serve under. And what that is then done is they actually find it easier to pay a police officer who has trained for such a short period to earn double what the teacher is earning. Because when I personally handed over a letter to President Mnangagwa sometime in July 2018, he promised to interrogate and look at the issues and the presentations that I personally made to him. And we were happy when E.D. Mnangagwa became president, because we felt it was the first time that as a leader I had been able to meet the president and presented a letter to him in his hands to say, Comrade President, I've brought a letter with our complaints, with our observations, and please listen to us. It just ended there. From then onwards, nothing happened. But we are not surprised, because it appears some of the plenipotentiaries in government, like Mtuli Ncube, these are people that are coming deliberately to follow and implement the IMF instructions, where ultimately our salaries must be below $30. And I think up to now, that is what they've done. They've deliberately made us pauperize the profession, deliberately made the point that they reduce and they talk of a budget surplus that is meaningless to us. Because if you boast of a budget surplus, when all the teachers that I know are living in abject poverty, then that surplus is meaningless. And we want to believe, Comrade Mtasa, like everybody else has correctly observed, we were earning $550 in October 2018. And illegally, they reduced our salaries to below $29 where we are now. In actual fact, it's actually illegal. It's unfair labor practice, because they reduced our salaries without engaging us. Because of the power purchase and parity theory, we are almost 5,000% below what we were earning in October 2018. And that in itself is criminal. But at the end of the day, we know for a fact that these guys know they've created many unions to deliberately disarticulate and create confusion in the profession. And like you are saying, I think when we interrogate further, the reasons why we are failing then to proceed is the legal framework does not allow us to engage the same government. Now they are hiding behind COVID. We can't meet because they say we have to social distance. But they have social distanced everything to a point where the issues of our salaries remain unspoken to and unspoken about. And I want to believe that workers in Zimbabwe must work to unite and challenge government positions regarding these matters.
Thank you, Comrade Majongwe. Let's hold on. We want to come back and deal with the issue of the legal framework that you have raised, both in private sector and in public sector. But I want to understand, Mr. Comrade Nyasha. We are hearing sorry states where families, working class families, the parent is failing to buy food. We may have school dropouts now, failing to pay school fees. And what does this entail in terms of the generations to come, our kids that are now without medical care, now probably without education, and now in child labor? What does this mean to our kids? If you look at the challenges that Comrade Moyo was talking about, that we are no longer even affording medical care. Few workers are now on medical aid. Are we not getting into this poverty trap that will affect generations to come?
Okay, thank you so much. In terms of, if you look at Zimbabwe's population, if you look at the statistics that are coming out, it's now around only 9% of the total population, not of workers, but of the total population, which is covered under medical aid. And that is a very sorry state for us as a country. And one of the things that we have to notice is that, and take note of, is that when we talk about a virtuous cycle which leads to economic growth, we talk about having an education system that works, we talk about having a health system that works, we talk about having all the what we call the socio-economic rights in place. We are looking at issues of employment, access to water, access to electricity, access to decent work, and also a living wage. And all these things, if we do a situation analysis in Zimbabwe of what we call the 8 fundamental socioeconomic rights, you find Zimbabwe wanting, you find a lot of them not in place, and a lot of them lacking big time. What this entails is that we are looking at a future, at a generation who is not going to be a healthy generation, an uneducated generation that we are developing. I think if you look, there's been a report recently about how not going to school has opened up and made the young girls more vulnerable to gender-based violence. The same report also indicates issues of teenage pregnancy is on the rise because children are not going to school. So, as Comrade Moye has highlighted, I think it's also telling of where we are going as a country. If people have no food, there's what the people are now calling 001. That means nothing in the morning, nothing in the afternoon. Then you struggle to have a meal in the evening. So we have a food crisis. We have an education crisis. Sorry to go back to the crisis question that you first asked. So this is the situation that we are in. If you do a follow-up of this girl, of this lady, sorry to say, who is in Chitungiza, who is a soup kitchen. When she started, she was feeding 100, 200, 300 people. Now the numbers are going beyond 2,000 of people lining up for food every evening. We have in Zimbabwe more than 76% of the working people being working in the informal economy. The informal economy is closed. I had the opportunity to be in a discussion with the minister who's responsible for the informal economy, and she highlighted that they did a rapid survey, and more than 50% of the people had indicated, this was in the second month of this lockdown, 50% had indicated that they could, after this, they don't see themselves going back to work because already they've eaten into their working capital. So if we have a nation where the majority are poor, where those who are working are also poor, you know, when we were growing up, we knew that if you go to work, you are getting out of poverty. This is not the case in Zimbabwe. We have people going to work who are still poor. And sadly, as a nation, we don't have social protection at all. We don't have comprehensive social protection mechanisms. Right now, government is giving people 300 Zim dollars, which is less than $3 USD, for people to survive for a month. And now the government is already complaining that people are not signing up. Because people are not signing up because the effort that you take to sign up and the money that you are going to get, the 300 Zim dollars, it's not commensurate. So why sign up for something which will not buy you even 2 liters of cooking oil? Eh? And you are supposed to survive a month with your family on that 300. And funny enough, government is targeting 1 million households. Sometimes they say people, sometimes they say. What do you do with 300 Zim dollars? Nothing.
That's it, Comrade Yasha.
Yeah. So what we are not building. Sadly, we are not building a nation. We are not developing our people. In other countries, parents are paid to make sure that their children go to school. If you look at Brazil, they have a social protection mechanism which is paying parents to make sure that their child attends school every day. Their children have medical care, and they have records that they've taken them to a dentist, to a doctor, to make sure that they build a healthy nation. We are not building a healthy nation.
Thank you, Comrade Nyasha. Let's hang on there. I know it's quite emotional, and when you start talking about socioeconomic rights, you preach about these things. These things that you are raising are very fundamental. I want to come back to you after Comrade Moyo and Comrade Ray speak on the tripartite negotiation forum. and Public Service Negotiating Platform, NJNC, and also to talk about the pensioners, the pensions. So anyone on the policy proposals and the policy issues that you are raising and the comparative analysis that you are raising and comparing with other countries and other continents. But I'm happy that comrades are joining. If you have got any question to the panelists, kindly comment on our Facebook page. Comrade Hans Maureen, thank you. You salute from Amsterdam. That's good. And Comrade Emi Machema, Shinga Mshandi Shinga. Maybe we should now go to Penga Mshandi Penga. But Comrade Moyo, what is the state of collective bargaining at the tripartite negotiating forum? Is there hope for workers? What have you as labor done, and where are the bottlenecks?
Thank you very much, Comrade Moderator. I would like to say my assessment is that the tripartite negotiating forum is turning out to be a monumental failure. There are many reasons probably why it has failed. Probably the way it is legally structured. Let me give you two examples. At the beginning of the conversation between the employers, government and organized labor, we had agreed that the government should reverse SI 142 because of what then was created after the introduction of the monocurrency. That decision was not implemented. A clear agreement between the social partners was ignored. Fast forward, at the end of May, we also agreed that we had given government enough time to stabilize the currency, and that has been the conversation that is in record within the TNF. We agreed that the government has to reform our currency. The government, instead of taking that issue, the government decided to introduce what they call the auction, ignoring completely what is coming out from the TNF. There are issues that we had raised concerning containment measures of COVID-19, how people are treated on the many checkpoints that are scattered around the country. This is something that we agreed at the TNF. How government is supposed to provide adequate transport to those industries that have been opened up, or that are supposed to be or are deemed to be in the social services. There is nothing to that effect. Government decided to apportion the responsibility of testing and screening to private players, when we had agreed that it is the government's responsibility. And as a result, we saw the numbers of people with COVID-19 going up. So in terms of how the TNF has fared, I think it has been a big disappointment. The TNF has not lived to its expectations. Government has ignored the TNF when it comes to crafting policies, even implementing the issues that are coming from the TNF. I think the TNF, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, but at the moment, it has been a monumental failure.
Thank you very much. Comrade Ray, we are running out of time, so briefly and straight to the point now, you had hope in, when President Mnangagwa came, as you said before. Is that hope still there, looking at collective bargaining in the public sector?
I think the most important point that we want to underscore here is anybody and any person that corrects their mistake and goes back to basics, they can salvage something. I want to believe that there are things that we can talk about and possibly agree or disagree on. But the point that comes right into my mind is, as far as I'm concerned, up to 2023, Mnangagwa will be around, which means in terms of what the law says, there is no collective bargaining in Zimbabwe for civil servants. Government has not ratified Convention 151 and 154. We have collective bargaining. And the government, since it brought a statutory instrument 141 of 1997, they've cherry-picked on who constitutes the Apex Council. They deliberately manipulate processes and outcomes. They impose leadership at Apex Council like we currently have. The current Apex Council that is sitting now. Its term expired 2 years ago, but they are still there, masquerading as Apex Council. And the government knows it. And that is where the tragedy is, because as far as I am concerned, I remember very well attending some meetings with some leaders in the ZCTU. I think Comrade SG was there. When we went to Imbamatombo there with the previous Mugabe regime leadership, and we were trying to bargain for the principles in the NJ at the levels of engagement at NJLC level, so that we are able to say, how does collective bargaining happen in Zimbabwe? Teams were sent to South Africa. And when the Mnangagwa regime came, they parachuted some of the leadership to Ghana. I think some of them went to Poland or somewhere. They came back with nothing but hot air. And up to now, in terms of harmonizing the laws, nothing has happened. So there is no collective bargaining in Zimbabwe. And until we have collective bargaining, nothing will happen. We will continue with these talk shows where people go and meet, and the government can meet on their own as far as Statutory Instrument 141 of 1997 is concerned. They can meet on their own and say they had an NJNC meeting. So legally, we have a challenge. Because I want to believe that this is why we are saying government is not alone in the challenges that we have. Some of the worker leadership are also complicit in this particular challenge. We have people who are deliberately assisting and abating government in denying workers what they have. So when we criticize and we critique government, we must not end there. Some of us as worker leaders are equally liable and equally guilty. But I want to believe that time will run out and the people will be exposed. The most important point is we need workers to unite. And this is why I've always said, even the unions in government must gang up with the ZCTU and many others to demand that government regularizes and make sure that collective bargaining really happens as is allowed for by the international conventions.
Thank you. And before I forget, Minister Mthuli Ncube has gone to the press saying that they've given you $300 for teachers to go back to work. What does that mean to you, and what is your response in the teaching fraternity?
The question is Mthuli Ncube Jesus who comes up with a basket and says, I'm going to give you 2 fish, I'm going to give you 1 bread, I'm going to give you 1 slice. Mthuli Ncube must behave as a minister who engages people. We can't have these guys going out and making us sound like we are beneficiaries. Tirima Street kids who must be given things. I dismissed it with the contempt it deserves. And the tragedy is the people who wrote the story mentioned my name and said I've agreed. The most important point is it is nonsensical. I am not privy to it. And I want to believe if Mthuli Ncube has offered us $300, why doesn't he engage us? Are we corona prone? Yes, we could be. But let him engage us. Let government come to us and say, this is what we have to offer. and government, ultimately, they have no escape. Workers in Zimbabwe will still be paid in US dollars. The 75 nostril that they are giving us, we know what they are doing. They are testing the waters. And I want to believe that the story that they wrote today is part of some intelligence work. They are dipping the stick, they are testing the waters. But we are saying to them, engage us, engage the workers. We are there, we are not animals. If they engage us honestly and honorably, we'll find a common ground. But for now, we are simply saying that is the story. If Mtuli wants to talk to us, he knows where we are. He knows how to talk to us. Government knows where we are, and they should engage us as men and women with respect.
Thank you. The word to Minister Mtuli, there we have one Messiah, we have one Savior. You are not Jesus Christ. So
Thank
if
you.
it is for us, nothing without us, nothing for us without us. Comrade Nyasha,
Without us.
we are running out of time, 3 minutes. I would want you to explain to us, we are hearing that there is price stability. We are hearing that the auction, Forex auction has brought about miraculous stability in the economy. But we are seeing prices going up. We are not feeling the stability. We are not seeing it in our homes. We are not testing it. We are not getting it. We are not holding it in our hands in terms of better lives. What is your take on this? Are we drunk or they are drunk? Who is smoking?
I'm sorry to laugh at this, but when we talk about price stability, Comrade Mutasa, it's not about government telling people that there's price stability. Like what you said, people should feel and see the price stability. I should not be told that I'm a man when I'm a man. Or it's more like a father telling you that I'm your father. Doesn't need to tell me he's my father. I know he's my father because of what he does and who he is to me. So price stability, it's not about government telling people that there's price stability. We should see it. We should experience it. We should live in it. If I go to the shops today and what I buy, I cannot buy with the same price tomorrow, what price stability are we talking about? I think recently there's been a memo of prices, of a change in prices also in terms of fuel. So let's look at the whole scenario and say, can I still buy what I was able to buy a week ago at the same prices? We can't talk about price stability when even the government statistics themselves are telling us that inflation increased from 700 to 800. Where is the price stability there? We can't talk about price stability, Comrade Mtasa, when there's been an announcement which is being shouted and announced every hour on radio when there is news that Zupco has increased its prices by 100%. Is that price stability? When prices are going up by 100%. So it's not about telling us that there's price stability. It's about us experiencing price stability and us, the people, telling them that we can see there's price stability. It's not about them telling us and them trying to convince us. The government should just work in the background and allow the people to then point to what they are doing. The people should be saying, we are seeing a decrease in prices. Look at what happened in 2009. Government did not have to announce that there's a price decrease. People experienced it. People felt it. We feel it even in our pockets, in our wallets, that there is a change. But now the little that I'm getting, all of it is being eroded. So there's no price stability. So I don't know who's smoking what and where, but we should feel price stability, not be.
Thank you very much. Definitely, it's not the trade unionists who are smoking, because we are wondering what the gentlemen and ladies who are saying this price stability, what they are smoking. But we are really going for the last session. Comrade SG, Moyo, this platform is supposed to be uniting labor. This is why we're going to be talking to different sectors. The next segment has got the informal sector. Want to know what the conductors, what they are doing. We want to know what the combi drivers, how they are surviving. the vendors who are being chased around. We want them to tell their stories, so that as labor leaders, we are fully informed around sectors. So we are using this platform to also unite labor, but we are also using the platform to mobilize workers. You can shed light on the call by the ZCTU to make every Monday a social justice struggle day, where workers must express themselves. Comrade Majongwe said, if you express yourself, you are being jailed, you are being imprisoned, you are being brutalized. But he also said, a luta continua, the struggle must continue, so we are not going to be keeping quiet. May you explain to workers and to citizens what this entails and what the demands, what are the issues?
Thank you very much. We have made a resolution that we want US dollar salaries. We made a resolution that we want prices to stabilize. And we made a resolution that we want employers to provide us with adequate PPEs. And because there has been a conversation around all these issues over the past 6 months, I did allude to earlier, we have made our point very clear to business. We have made our point very clear to government. These are the things that are on record. We have demanded these issues, and we have decided to take it to another level. This level is that at every workplace, wherever we are as workers, we need to amplify our voice around these issues. So we have asked the members, we have asked the workers to express themselves. It should not be Peter Bamtasa, Raymond Majongwe speaking about these issues. We want the workers to say these issues at their workplaces. So this is a program that we are rolling out. We expect it to be a sustained campaign. It's not going to be on 2 Mondays it's over. We are talking to everyone that let's intensify it until these issues are met, until the government agrees, put a policy. We are aware that some of our employers are giving in, calling workers' councils to pay the US dollar. Probably Mtuli with his 300 is trying to persuade the Majongwe not to protest. But we want it to cover everyone. So we are insisting that there should be a policy because we still have employers who are saying there is no policy for them to pay US dollar salaries. So we want that to be a policy, to be a legal framework, so that everyone then can benefit. We want also the issue to do with the pricing, as Nyasha has indicated earlier. We want to prices to be stabilized. We want also to safeguard our health. So we want employers to provide adequate protective clothing or equipment. This program is going on, and we urge all the workers. In fact, I'm challenging my members. I'm challenging my members and my bosses. I'm challenging my bosses. If we are not able to lift a placard at your own workplace, how dare would you go to Africa Unity Square and make a claim and lift a placard? I expect every worker, I expect members to protest at their workplaces. It should be as easy as possible. We would be considering going nationally, but at the moment, we are starting at the workplace. We want every worker, after you have knocked off from your workplace at your lunch hour, lift up your placard, write something about the US dollar salary, demand it. We want that to start from the workplace. This is what we want the workers to do. It's within the law to petition. It is within the constitution to petition. It is within the Labor Act to petition. And this is a program that we are prepared to talk about it until we attain what we want.
Thank you very much. And in 1 minute, what about the Global Day of Action? 1 minute, comrade, we have run out of time.
In fact, these workplace programs are a build up to the Global Day of Action. Listeners, colleagues will recall that some weeks ago there were a campaign, hashtag Zimbabwean Lives Matter. And at the moment we are saying trade unions are not terrorists. So on the 23rd, all over the world, workers of the world will be in solidarity with the Zimbabwean workers. We are saying trade unions are not terrorists. So we urge, depending on the country context, we urge workers across the world, we urge workers in various sectors to make this a big day for everyone, a big day for us. It is a global day of action because trade unions are not terrorists.
Thank you very much. Trade unionists are not terrorists, pay a living wage. So you had the SG there, whether you are in informal sector, even you are in informal sector, combi drivers, raise your placards, sing, chant slogans. Wherever you are, you deserve to be back at work. Vendors, you are being harassed by the police. Every Monday, raise your placards. Those who depend on workers' salaries, the students, the communities, wherever you are, raise your placard, raise your voice, tell the government, we are suffering, workers are suffering, our fathers are suffering, our mothers are suffering. Workers, you cannot continue to go to work. If you have an accident, public hospitals are closed. That's the strong message they are coming from the SG. Every Monday, social justice struggle day, where we raise our voices. Comrade Ray, your parting shots, we have come to the end of our program. What's your message to teachers? What's your message to the government? What's your message to the citizens?
I think without apology, I will say and reiterate that government is taking advantage of workers. They've abused us enough. Our demands are very simple. We can't live in a country where everything is pegged in US dollars. Rentals are in US dollars, drugs are in US dollars, food is in US dollars, transport is in US dollars. Then you expect workers to be paid RTGS and SMILE. And Mtuli must be advised that we are workers, yes, but we are citizens as well. It is criminal for a government to pauperize their workers under the guise of mobilizing resources to be spent on items that we are oblivious about. Government must be reminded. They live in unparalleled opulence and the extravagance that we know and we notice. And yet the workers that are patriotic, toiling day and night, leaving their families to travel into the bush to teach at several schools, are ultimately paid peanuts. The Mugabe regime made the same mistake. They felt that teachers were of no consequence, teachers were easily labeled enemies of the state. But ultimately, what happened? And it's the same lesson that we want Idi Mnangagwa, Mtuli Ncube, and many others to realize. We are citizens of this country. We will support programs that are sympathetic and respect the welfare of workers. Now they've said schools have to reopen. Cabinet is making the decisions. One wonders whether wisdom resides in cabinet. Who did they consult setting dates? The teachers are saying our welfare first, and we are saying pay us in US dollars. All these challenges that they are talking about will be addressed because we know for a fact if we agree as a country that we are going to be paid salaries that are viable, we will go to work, we will take care of our own children. How do you expect a teacher to go and teach other people's kids when they themselves can't clothe themselves? They can't look after their own children. They can't pay rentals. We are having a social catastrophe out there. Unbelievable divorce rates out there. Suicides involving teachers. Kids are running away from their parents because they can't look after them. And you expect to declare, government just declares a date and says schools are going to reopen on the 28th. Where are the children going to attend school? How are they going to go to school? They can't pay for fees. They can't pay for rentals. They can't even take pre-school kids to school because there's no money. They can't afford it. We now have a situation where we are begging from our friends and relatives out there to send us $50 US to pay rent. When you are a qualified teacher, 25 years teaching experience, 4 degrees, that person has produced doctors, professors, and everything, but they are living in abject poverty. It is shameful, and I want to believe President Mnangagwa must be told the truth. Teachers are citizens. We are patriotic. We love our country. The wealth that this country is producing must reflect on the welfare of its citizens. We can't be told that we don't qualify because government has a policy. We must be paid in US dollars because we are the citizens. If government is now saying it's US dollars for fuel, US dollars for Zinara, US dollars for Zesa, US dollars for drugs, US dollars for rentals, and then when it comes to salaries, you say RTGS. I think that contradiction must be addressed. And as citizens, we are not going to sleep. We are not going to allow that to happen. Even the 7,000 that we're talking about, that the police officers are earning, is an insult because you can't be paid $7,000 and be given tasks to go about looking at my house, intimidate my family, follow me wherever I go, and you just get paid 7,000 RTGS, which you can't even use to buy a phone. It is shameful, and the government must be told what we did to Mugabe, we'll do it to them. We are workers and we have rights as citizens and will not stop fighting because they've intimidated us. We are citizens of this country and there is no any other country that we belong to. We are Zimbabweans by right and will fight for what is legitimately ours. The workers' struggle is here and the leadership is there. Amanda, the workers are going to keep fighting and talking sense.
Amanda, thank you very much. So the message from the message from the two senior trade union administrator is very clear. Enough is enough. Workers are going to stand up and fight back. We are citizens. We've got our rights. We are not going to be intimidated. I think we wish to thank all the viewers. We have Comrades Hans Morin saying, please keep us informed about the Global Day of Action. We are also going to be having students have already shown that they are going to join international organizations of students. They are discussing with our students movement here. We are discussing with civil society. They have also indicated that they are going to be joining. So we'll keep you updated. Comrade, we might have very pertinent issues you are raising, comrades. Let's keep pushing. We shall overcome. We are born out of a struggle. And what Comrade Majongwe and Comrade Moyo were saying is the same with nurses, it's the same with doctors. Every one of us, all citizens, all workers have been dehumanized. We've lost all our dignity. We are going to be calling the informal sector to discuss with them. I've been very, very informed. I think I've been informed as a trade union leader, as a political leader. I really needed this dialogue with our administrators, with our secretariats to understand what's happening in the public sector, understand what is happening in the private sector. I really needed this, and all our leaders at ZCT, you needed this dialogue with economists to understand really what is happening in this country. The bottom line, there's a crisis. Citizens must stand up for their rights. We must fight. Workers must fight. Starts with tomorrow and every Monday. Let's Raise Our Voice, the song by Comrade Ray Majongwe, which we are going to end up with, is quite poignant. It raises a very important question. What is freedom? What is independence? So I thank God for this wonderful opportunity. Keep watching and keep checking our updates for these the Worker Dialogue sessions. Comrade Majongwe, Comrade Moyo, thank you very much for your time, and all these listeners and viewers. Thank you very much. Shinga Mshandi Shinga. Amanda.
Shinga. Amanda. Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Wetu.
Let's go back to the song. Let's go back to Comrade Ray's song and listen to this strong message. Thank you very much. Be blessed. Workers of Zimbabwe, be blessed. We have a battle to fight. We are going to be victorious wherever you are. Spread our message. Be blessed.
Freedom. What is freedom? Independence. What is independence? Freedom you and I struggled for. Independence you and I struggled for. What is freedom? What is freedom when you and I are still in bondage? When the laws made by the oppressors are still being used by the liberators? When all the wealth is now in the hands of a chosen few? When the nation is still groaning in pain? When thinking otherwise is an offense? What is freedom? Where is the independence? Where is the independence?
What is freedom? What is independence? Thank you, comrades. Bye. We are ending this program now. Thank you for being with us.